Hello, everyone. Going to wait a couple more minutes before we start today's open discussion class. Give everyone more time to join us, both on Zoom and on YouTube. About 3 or 4 more minutes, and then we will start today's open discussion. All right, everyone. Welcome to our 75th open discussion on various topics. As per usual, feel free to ask any questions you may have, either on YouTube if you're joining us there, or on Zoom. You can ask your questions in the chat or use the raise hand feature. Ask your questions audibly, and we'll do our best to answer those for you. Let's go ahead and open up with prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll start taking questions. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. Speaker view. Jesus. All right. Once again, welcome everyone. So I will be jumping back and forth between windows today, but that shouldn't cause any problems with our class. So do we have any questions? There are no questions.
Dwayne, you want to move to the diagrams?
The Mystic Constitution ones?
Yeah, those new ones and ones I sent you last week. We didn't go over those, right?
No, I don't think so. These ones, right? This is fine.
They didn't convert well for you?
The one that I have up right now?
Uh,
Yeah, it's okay. I just need to zoom in a bit so it's easier to read.
okay.
All right. All right, since no questions, we'll go into a review of Mystic Constitution of Man handouts, which are currently not in the shared folder. They're not there yet. But, let me upload them really quick so everyone can read, follow along. Give me a second.
Bernard, did you make changes to this page?
Yeah, all three pages.
Did you email it to Dwayne?
Yeah, that's what he got up.
Okay.
Okay, the PDF file is now in the shared folder, titled Visio, the Mystic Constitution of Man, 2021B. And that's the document we'll be reading from today. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll answer those as we go along. The link to the shared folder should be in the description on YouTube. Also be in the meeting announcements, the class announcements, both from MeetUp and if you're on our email list. And I'll also post it in the chat on Zoom. Okay. All right, so the Mystic Constitution of Man, the major metaphysical components of man's makeup. On the top right, the absolute conceptually represents the highest expression of God that is unmanifested because it has no beginning nor ending and becomes the pure and formless ground of being from which creation and manifestation arise. Therefore, the spirit of man by default is also unmanifested and becomes the all-knowledge space, the point of consciousness, and divine source of power for the soul. That unmanifested existence is the absolute or God, which is often described as the infinite, omnipotent, omnipresence, and omniscient. This infinite, endless potential becomes the power source for the universe and all its life forms, from the macro to the micro. The soul is manifested from the Spirit, a divine spark of God. For reasons unknown, the Absolute decided to involve a part of itself into a manifested periodical state of being. This manifested aspect of its being exists in various states of matter, operating in multiple layers of motion and time in order to gain experience. The soul, following the directives of the Spirit, pulls on the creative substance of the universe to build itself an indestructible body layered in multiple levels of consciousness, gain experiences in countless cycles of incarnations. This indestructible body is the auric body. It is the personal body for the soul of man. The auric body then creates an envelope of divine substances that feeds all the vehicles of expression utilized by the soul to gain experience in reincarnation cycles. All incarnated bodies exist in cycles within the auric body, which act as an envelope of matter that sustains the bodies or vehicles of expression. See if there's any questions. No? Okay. You might have a question. What does the absolute do with or need experience for? Well, why does the absolute need experience?
You asking a question?
Yes.
Well, I answered that. I said, well, we don't know why the absolute decided to involve itself. That's the one question that seemed that the mystics or metaphysicians, we don't have the answer for that. But for some reason, the absolute created this so-called manifested world and took a part of itself and divided it and wrapped it up and pushed it out into this manifested gross world, and only to come back to itself with the experience of the manifested world. We don't know why that was done that way.
So what does it mean to return as conscious gods?
Well, you return as a full aspect of the absolute. Because when you move out slowly into unconsciousness, into an unconscious or unaware state that takes on consciousness. And when you come back, you come back aware. But you're always connected to something that is aware, and that is the spirit. The spirit is there and aware of everything. So the soul is connected to the spirit, but the spirit goes through multiple modifications of itself. I mean, the soul does. Goes through multiple modifications of itself until it's totally unconscious.
Okay. Let's look at the illustrations on the left. We'll start with the absolute, or God, number one, at the top, which is referred to as the creator, Shiva. And then from that yields creation, or Shakti, and the spirit as in between the soul and the absolute, or connected to the absolute and also connected to the soul, meaning both manifested and unmanifested. You see there, written underneath spirit is stationary. That's part two. And then number three, aspect number one, that is the soul, it is also stationary. And then has two aspects. The soul has two aspects, a stationary aspect and another aspect in constant motion. The stationary aspect remains part of the spirit, and the manifested or the constant motion aspect goes out and builds itself in the auric body. You see the two arrows in the gray box to the left here pointing to the soul. The soul, the manifested body; for the spirit, a traveling body. The second aspect of the soul creates the auric body, which is the soul manifested this body to gain experience throughout the subtle and gross material realms. As you scroll down further to the auric body, its auric substance in the organized fields of modified Shakti, 4, and that auric substance of 5 is the chakra system, 6, the nadi system, inner flow, 7, kundalini, 8, 4 states of sound, and 9, nadi system, outer flow. See there's the ovoid aura with the chakra system represented in the center. Also composed of vehicles of expressions, which are 10, the mental bodies, 11, the 5 major pranas, number 12, the etheric body, 13, astral body, and finally 14, the physical body. Okay. Now let's return to the paragraph here on the left-hand side. So the absolute as Shiva releases a divine sonic vibration that mobilizes the Shakti. That Shakti becomes the substance and power of the universe, sustaining all life forms within. Everything in the universe is built from that Shakti, the substance of God. Shiva is the ultimate creator, while Shakti, being a product of the original divine sonic vibration, is the creation. This Shakti then creates a cosmic matrix of modified Shakti that becomes the substance and bodies of the universe, galaxies, solar systems, suns, planets, and moons. These Mahabindus become the celestial distributors for expanding life and power throughout creation. And see at the bottom here, we have some definitions. Shiva, absolute or God. Shakti, all power. Vak, an initial divine sound vibration. That's referring to a divine sonic vibration mentioned here in the first sentence in this paragraph. Maha, meaning great, like Maha Bindus, and Bindu, a point of conscious. So here on the right-hand side, we have more explanation of the vehicles of expression, specifically the mental, etheric, astral, and physical bodies. First, the mental bodies. These are several levels and patterns of Chitta Shakti, material pulled from the cosmos to form a limited body of consciousness to undergo various experience cycles. The mental bodies consist of a supraconscious mind, a supraconscious mind, superconscious mind, subconscious mind, and a conscious mind, all of which are used to shape and mold both subtle and gross energies and matter. Etheric body, a subtle body made from the higher subtle energies and matter configured from the upper energy patterns of the chakras situated above the solar plexus chakra. Astral body, a subtle body made from the subtle energy and material configured from the chakras below the heart chakra. This subtle body has a tendency to interact with the physical body, manifesting as emotional energy or distorted mental energies. Physical body, the gross body constructed to house all aspects of man's mystic constitution. Now, could it be said that the physical body is composed of the energy and material configured from the chakras below the Muladhara? The base chakra, sorry.
Uh, no, I don't think so, because the physical, the human, you're talking about the human physical body.
Yes, yes.
The human physical body is designed to carry and translate mental thought. So
Also couldn't use the energy from the
bodies
lower
below the Muladhara or the base of the spine is not designed to translate thought universally. It's only designed to carry instinct and thought, through specific channels. But once you reach the crown chakra of the animal kingdom, which is the Muladhara chakra, you can translate mental thought universally through voice. And you can express mental thought through the hands by building things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference of the human body versus the animal body.
Okay. So this is the soul pulls material from the Mother Earth to build the physical body. Is both the astral and etheric body also built through material from the earth? Or all the bodies?
Yeah, it's conditioned. It's built from material from the earth and from the solar system and the universe.
Right.
So remember that the initial material from the earth is powered by the sun
Mm-hmm.
and the galaxy through about the chakras. And the more you define and develop those chakras, the more a celestial configuration takes on. Because remember, the Earth is a galactic being.
Right. Are there any questions? Okay, again, for those just joining us, we're taking a look at the Mystic Constitution of Man, Major Metaphysical Components of Man's Makeup, a handout, which can be found in our Google Drive shared folder, in the 2021 folder. You can read along with that as we discuss the handout. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat and we will address those for you. Last week, Nimai, we talked extensively about the creative energies and specifically about love. And I was wondering, where does love pull its ability to multiply itself from? Is that from Shiva?
Yeah,
And
it's from the absolute. Remember, the love energy is one of the only energies that can pull energy from the original source or from the endless power, from any realm of existence,
right.
from any level of operations. And that's the uniqueness of love energy.
So why is it the only energy that can do that? Or just that we only know of that energy that can do that?
Well, because it's the energy of preservation. It preserves the intelligent matrix, and it preserves the mental matrix, which allows the Shakti, the power matrix, make movement or sustain movement through its cycles. So it has access to the endless potential power, in a sense, because it is the thing that creates the journey from and back. So it only makes sense that it can loop itself and that it can pull the power directly from the source.
So then if we look back at at your diagram here, is it the love energy that the soul is using to keep its second aspect in a constant motion?
Yeah, I mean, it is that love energy that preserves everything in its time cycles. So what is the ultimate time cycle? The ultimate time cycle is the breath out and the breath in, uh, according to the old Vedas. Remember, they say
Mhm.
the absolute breathe
The
out.
in-breath and out-breath of Brahma.
Yeah. So that's the love energy that controls that cycle. And that's why Dr. George King called it the third aspect.
So we have a question here. When our physical bodies die, how long does our astral body stay in this realm before moving on?
That depends on the person and their level of development. So what's not known about the astral body, you have multiple astral bodies. Uh, if you tour it with the astral body, you'll realize that uh, the if you go to a graveyard, especially a fresh graveyard, you will see the decaying astral body floating above the physical body. The same way the physical body decays, the astral body decays. That's why mystics opt to go through a cremation process in order to accelerate the the decaying of the astral body, so that energy can come back to you. If you was on the astral planes and your astral body and you died off the astral plane, then your astral body will dissolve right then, and the essence of that energy will move on with you. On the physical plane, we have to help that energy. So when people bury their bodies, they delay the process. So it depends on the person. It depends on what they do and how they do it, according to the mystic teachings.
Okay, another question here. Regarding this statement, imagination is man's only creative faculty. Does this mean currently, are there other creative faculties for more advanced beings?
Yes, I mean, yes, there is, but they're all connected to this creative faculty of imagination. There's different levels of imagination, and it all has to do with your levels of concentration, contemplation, and meditation. So there are different levels, and when you're practicing uh, Raja Yoga, they first tell you to focus your mind for 12 seconds. And you practice doing this over and over and over and over again until you can have a solid 12 seconds of concentration. Then you multiply those 12 seconds until you reach a level of 144 seconds. When you reach halfway to 144 seconds, you will notice that you have a greater concentration, a greater imagination, and you have a good degree of contemplation. When you reach 144 seconds, you will notice that you are tempering or moving into the states of meditation. And at that point, your imagination is not only mental, but it's physical on multiple levels of existence. When you reach halfway, you'll notice that it's physical on several realms of existence. So imagination grows with your ability to focus that imagination, because imagination is a creative force. Every time you think, you create, but the creation of that thought has a small life cycle, maybe seconds, maybe minutes, unless it's caught up in the winds and levels of samskara because of your own karma. But it is a creative force, and it does have different levels and dimensions. I hope you understand what I was talking
about. Could you go a bit more into the concentrative practices?
In the sense of what?
I know in the previous practices series, you gave us a couple of concentrative practices, like concentrating on a topic or making a list of things, and a couple other topics.
Well, I mean, like I said, concentration is directing one's mind down one channel, and you use techniques to do that. So if you notice, when you begin to concentrate, everything, once you go into, because concentration is connected to silence, right? Because within silence is all power, it's all presence. Everything operates in a state of silence, at least on this physical plane, because we cannot, on the physical plane, we cannot hear the operations of the body or bodies. So to us, it operates in silence. So in order for us to connect to the power that drives the physical world and gain control over the power of the physical world, we must resort to silence. We must go back into the silence. And by going into the silence, we can connect to that endless potential that drives the physical movement. So you're taught techniques in order to do this. Now when you go into the silence is the mental realms that molds and shapes the physical realms, and uses and dictates to the subtle energies of how all movement will happen. So when you go into the silence, you can focus the mind to see the patterns of life. But you can't do that while you're moving. If you imagine if you're on a train and you look and you're trying to focus on a target, you can't see the target because you're moving, and the
Right.
target soon leave your sight. But in the silence, you can focus on that target, and you can follow the train and follow the steps, and you can know the matrix of how that thing is built. So you have to train yourself to focus. And the first time you try to focus, you have all these grasshopping thoughts, and you can't get focused, and you're thinking about everything that happened to you in the past. Because why? Because the yogis tell us that this is the verities. It is the valence level of the aura that has all the past actions and present actions that's affecting, that's hitting you from 1,000 different angles, and accentuating the samskaras that's already there, and or the memories that's already there, and exciting different sensations of your sensory sensations, and activating the emotional levels of the astral body. So you have to learn to calm each one of those things down. And the yogis tell us the best way to do it is through cycles of 12 seconds. And you try to increase on those 12 seconds by moving from 12 seconds to 24 seconds, and until you reach different levels, 60 seconds, uh, until you just keep going and going and going and going until you reach 12 seconds of 144 12 seconds. So, and that's one of the techniques that will bring you into the level where you can create the world that you want to create in the world of imagination, which the imagination at that point becomes something solid, something controllable.
So let's say I wanted to focus on a mantra or a statement, something like the love of God never fails. Would I take that statement into the silence and try to focus on that statement alone for 12 seconds?
Yeah, you could do that. But, will you understand that, though? That's the thing about it. So that's why I suggested in my other classes, before you go into the silence, write down things that's connected to that, so that you can focus the mind towards that,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And not just go cold on that one statement.
Right.
Because it didn't work for me many, many years ago, And so I went back and I studied the techniques that the yogis use, and they would write up a whole paragraph or a whole different things connected to that, and then they would place this in their memory, and they would go down, or they would place it on a board or a piece of paper, and they'll go down, and they will have their counter, to count off the time uh, while they focus on those things. And they would judge themselves or measure themselves whether they succeeded or didn't succeed.
Mhm.
So that's the way you do it.
And I know you also warned us um, about the staring at the flame practice too. And I recently heard in a lecture from Dr. George King, he gave a warning about it as well. Even though he gave the practice, he gave a. This was the first time I heard him give a warning about it. He said that the staring of the flame practice can actually cause physical blindness in an effort to uh, gain clairvoyance. He said that's something that the yogis would do.
Staring at what?
Staring at the flame, at a
Oh,
candle flame. Yeah, you had warned us about it too, and I also heard a lecture from Dr. George King warning about it as well. Are there any questions? Let me see what we have here. I did have another question going back to the practices and those grasshopping thoughts. When we're channeling our mind down that a single purpose or a single objective that we're trying to focus on, and those grasshopping thoughts come about, and you've given us multiple ways to deal with those grasshopping thoughts. One was the fishing line technique, where you let the mind run with it, and then as when it tires out, you gently bring it back. Ranging from another where you kind of ignore the grasshopping thoughts and focus on what you want to focus on. But in both of those techniques, how much leeway do we allow? Like, do we let the mind run on every single grasshopping thought that comes up, or in the other such scenario, do we completely ignore everything else and just force the mind to focus? Like, and then where does inspiration allow for that? Like, if I'm trying to focus on something and I ignore everything else exclusive to that, but would inspiration come in that scenario? Would the higher self send inspiration there, or would the higher self respect the fact that I'm trying to focus and assist me in that practice? Does that make sense?
well, the technique is to examine the grasshopping thought.
Okay.
And when you examine the grasshopping thought, you dismiss it based on substance. I mean, why is this here at this time?
Mm-hmm.
What does this have to do with where I want to go? The I, the soul. What you want, because now you're when you make that direction, you elevating the mind to the direction of the super and the super conscious mind, which is controlled by the soul. When you say, why is this here? This is not what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Raja Yoga? Raja Yoga said, it is the I am and it is the I. And when you enact the I, you are pulling on the power of the soul. So when you have the grasshopping thoughts, and every time it comes up, you ask, what is this for? Why is this here? It doesn't make sense at this time because I have dictated this time for XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately the basic self cannot give a real answer. And if the basic self do come with the answer, it's going to be flawed, because it's not, the basic self do not want to agree with you, with what you want to do at that particular time. And that's why the basic self throw these things up at you. So we're taught to bring out the rod of correction of the I, of the command, where you, the real you, the I am and the I, have given a command to move forward in this particular direction. So when you do that, it changes things and changes direction, because the basic self cannot give an answer of why it's allowing these basic thoughts to come to you at this particular time.
Mhm.
And remember, Dr. King said the same thing at one time. He said, examine each one and set it aside.
Right.
That's what he meant by that. But the Raja Yoga tells you about the I am and the I, saying that you elevate your presence to the level of the soul, of the higher self. The higher self is being driven by the soul, and you give a command. Why is this here? This is not the designated time for this. I have not designated this time for this. You understand?
Yes. When you said that rod of correction, it reminded me of that verse in the Bible saying, "Thy rod and thy staff shall comfort me." Is that similar to? Is that what that's referring to, or is that something else?
A lot of the stuff in the Bible referred to the I am and the I.
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus said my Father, Jesus was talking about the spirit and the soul. He wasn't speaking about the absolute, because the spirit is the aspect of the absolute. And then when he referred to his basic self, he referred to the Son of Man.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can see the similarity in those things,
Right.
because but then when he referred to his higher self, he referred to his Father.
Okay. So are there any additional questions? Let me see. Look at the chat here. Nothing there. Okay. If there's no questions, let's move on to page 2. I have a question here about number 9. You might have the Nadi system outer flow.
Yeah,
What's
you have
what is that?
you in when the soul begins to form the auric body, the inner Nadic flow is the flow of energy taken in the Brahma Nadi levels of consciousness, which is
Oh,
the supra and super levels of consciousness, and it flows through the layers of Shushuna,
uh-huh.
and it flows through the supra and supra conscious levels of the chakras, where it pulls the energy in from the solar system, the galaxy, and the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it condenses this energy into a Shakti consciousness called Kundalini, then you have the outer flow of the nadis, and hence you have the division of the Shakti, and into idol and pandala. And then you have the matrix of the nadis, which moves in and out of the chakras and the petals of the chakras.
All right, so basically the outer flow is just Kundalini reciting the celestial song, trying to get back to its original source. And in that process, you have that outflow from the base of the spine, correct?
Correct.
All right. You might have to, well, that's a lesson in and of itself, though. What's in blue versus what's in red. Oh, before you go on, why you got the yellow in between soul and auric body, and in between the yellow, soul constant and soul stationary? What's the yellow for? The gold.
Well, that's showing the connection. There's a constant connection there on the higher etheric realms.
Okay.
In other words, they call it the silver lining. That connects them.
Yeah, but that silver line runs all the way to the absolute spirit.
It runs where, you say?
It runs all the way to the spirit.
Right. It's the same thing that happens to that becomes visible between master and student. And it's a silver lining is developed where where they're always connected. It's similar to that. That's why that happens, because when the spirit manifests the spirit, manifests the soul, and the soul becomes the twin soul, there's a silver lining that happens. Well, when the student is awakened by the master, then there's a silver lining that happens. And they say it's supposed to be prevalent with the bishop and the archbishop, or the bishop and the master. And that's why they honor bishops in organizations or religious organizations, because they have a silver lining with the master, like the 12 disciples and Jesus, or Arjuna and Sri Krishna.
All right, Duane, you want to go to the next page?
Yeah, I had a question, but
Oh, go ahead then.
I don't know if I should ask it though, but in one of the transmissions, and Dr. King said that they had weapons that could obliterate you down to the soul body. That means it could, everything here on red would be destroyed.
And blue.
And blue?
Yes.
Well, the soul body is the auric body. So it'll destroy you. It'll take you back to the supra-conscious level, which is the auric body. Remember, the auric body is the body of the soul.
Right. But it's indestructible. So how could the auric substance be destroyed?
No, the auric body won't be destroyed. The soul body, if he said it'll destroy you down to the soul body, that's what he meant. The auric body is indestructible. In other words, all the expressions that come after the auric body, or all the expressions that live within the auric body.
See, Dwayne, what happens is when the auric body begins to modify that organized field of modified Shakti, you can consider that a fingerprint. It is unique in creation. It belongs to you as a soul. And all you're doing is taking components that already exist and putting your own mark on it, so to speak, as you build your full expression. So, the obliteration of the auric body, so to speak, is your own unique arrangement of everything in red and blue. Can't destroy Kundalini, but I can destroy how Kundalini was modified to bring your expression about.
Oh, okay.
And remember we talked about the auric body being like a substance, a nebula type substance,
right?
Because the nebula is a shared substance. So all the red and blue is sharing the same substance of the auric body, that the auric body created. But the auric body is indestructible. But there's layers and layers and layers and layers of the auric body, and every layer allows for action, allows for the chakra system. It allows for the nadi system, the inner flow of the nadi system. It allows for the Kundalini, it allows for the sounds coming from Kundalini, and it allows for the outer flow of Kundalini, which creates the mental bodies, allows the 5 major pranas to flow in a certain way and create the etheric body, astral body, and the physical body. But all of those things live within the auric body. They cannot exist outside the auric body.
Okay. That's scary. Let me move on. A brief statement. How much time we have? Okay, we're fine. A brief statement of the soul, the manifested body for the spirit, a traveling body. Let's see if I can get everything into view. Okay, it's fine. Number 1, the soul is the manifested intelligence of the spirit, a supreme but limited vehicle of manifested conscious awareness of the spirit as the soul. Number 2, the soul's intelligence is a direct product of the spirit. Therefore, it is aware of the vast, unlimited power and knowledge of the spirit. So the spirit is that all knowledge space, or where the Bindu gets that all knowledge from, right?
Yeah, keep going. It explains itself further down.
Okay. The soul, number 3, the soul is the highest manifested expression of the spirit within man. Number 4, the soul is considered to be the manifested body of the spirit. Number 5, this manifested body of the spirit, the soul, is indestructible. It came from the spirit and it must be absorbed back into the spirit. Number 6, therefore, soul cannot die. It can only be absorbed back into its original source, the spirit. Number 7, the soul's body is made of the highest manifested matter in the universe and remains on the highest realm of existence throughout the journey of involution and evolution.
Keep going. You'll see.
The soul, in its twin state of supreme existence, remains in a position of vast awareness and supreme power, creating all the moving parts of itself to make the journey through involution and evolution. Number 9, therefore, the soul is the I of man, and the spirit is the I am of man, that part that is forever connected to the absolute God, the Shiva Shakti.
All right, stop right there. Go back to the previous page and look at numbers 2 and 3.
Numbers 2 and 3. Uh-huh.
So that's what those paragraphs speak to on that diagram. 8, 9, and 10 describes that relationship.
Okay. But here in Nehemiah, you have the soul pointed to the the crown.
That's right.
Mhm.
Because that is a manifested part of the spirit.
What's wrong with that?
I was just looking back here at 7. That's that's not the highest form of existence throughout the journey of evolution. That's, or for us, is
For
that
all things.
Yes, it is. Why?
the crown is
Yeah, for us, yes.
for us? Okay.
And as you become a cosmic, remember I told you that why you think they say that there's 1,000 petals in the crown chakra? Because that's the rims of the avatars. And in order for the at one point they have to at one point the individual has to become multiple individuals and then come back together and then join together as many souls as a planet. In order for a planet to become a planet, the planet does what?
It amalgamates itself with several.
With several what? Souls, right?
Right.
And it becomes a logi or a logos. It becomes a logos because it's multiple individuals coming together to become one intelligence in order to become a planet. So in the crown chakra represents the realms of existence of the cosmic masters. That's why when you reach the level of the Christ chakra, you become an avatar. When you reach the level of the crown chakra, you become ascendant master, and you become a cosmic master at that point.
Okay. So, 'cause I thought that, I remember you saying the Muladhara was the Muladhara? No, Muladhara was the crown center for the animal kingdom,
Right.
and so I thought when we reach the crown, that becomes, I guess, the base center for the cosmic beings, and we have another set of chakra systems above that, and just keeps going higher and
Remember, I
higher.
always say you have multiple chakras within the crown.
Right.
Yeah. So the base of the crown, is actually the Christ chakra,
Oh,
because remember, you become an avatar,
right.
and then you become an ascended master, and then you begin the journey of the cosmic. And then what's after that, we don't know, but we do know that the crown chakra, a cosmic being, splits up its consciousness in order to begin to practice uh, uh, what what we know in basic science to be X and O,
Uh-huh.
and then O and X, and then X and O again. You studied that in those theories in science.
X and O and O and X. No,
And
I'm not
yeah,
familiar.
in order for anything to work, something that you must create a framework in order
Uh-huh.
for it to work out of. So that's what
Right.
the X and O stands for, right? Right, Bernard?
That's correct.
Yeah. Bernard's an engineer, so but when you move towards mysticism, it becomes very scientific, and when you get to that crown level, you begin to understand that. So what happens? Why you have the soul begin to break up is because one part of the existence becomes stationary, as Dr. George King described in his four aspects of creation. What
Mm-hmm.
did he say? Aspect one uh, uh, lives in
In the highest realms.
on the planet, within the planet, next to the logos of the planet, or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then aspect number two never leaves the planet, but it moves around the planet. And then aspect number three is the traveling aspect
Uh-huh.
that leaves that travels within the solar system and outside of the solar system. And then aspect number four is the aspect that introduces itself into a planetary incarnation, right?
Right.
Now, why do they do that? Because they're doing the X and O thing that we vaguely understand here on this earth, you know. But as life go on, that those cosmic beings, we're told in the Nine Freedoms that they can split their consciousness up like that into 1,800. I think it's 1,860 different
Bodies.
bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of the perfects of Saturn can double that
Mm-hmm.
in order to gain experience, and then come back to the whole, and to a point where they move on and become a solar. They begin to live in solar existence, and then they begin to, at that point, they can leave there and take on the body of the planet. But I mean, so that's what that's all about. I mean, if you can understand what I'm talking about.
So if the Christ Center now becomes the base for the Crown Center, does that mean if the Crown Center is now what we call, it's often referred to as a thousand-petal lotus, is it safe to say that if the Christ Center is the base for the crown, then the journey of us in our evolution from our base, the Muladhara, to our Christ is synonymous with the journey for an avatar, when now they're standing at the base of the Christ and they have this journey through this thousand-petaled lotus of a whole new set of mastery to deal with.
Right, because they remember our journey is, what we're taught in Raja Yoga and Tantra Yoga and Kundalini Yoga. We're taught that we must do a complete meditation on each petal within each chakra.
Right.
Right, and then we're also taught that each petal has many realms of existence connected to it.
Yes.
Which is the example of the Tava rays. Remember?
Yes, 360 in total.
Yeah, and each ray is a total realm of existence of itself.
Correct.
So they gave us the example that when we move to the level of consciousness of just the mana pura, which is the solar plexus chakra, that we have conquered 118 realms of existence by being able to step to that solar plexus level of consciousness. Because below, between the two chakras of the Muladhara and the sex chakra, there's 118 Tava rays. So each ray represents a world of existence. So now, I mean, how many worlds are within each petal of 1,000 petals? Because we just dealt with 50 petals, and we had to go through 360. We had to conquer 360 worlds, realms of existence. So what's the realms of existence of 1,000 petals? So, I mean, it can be solar systems that we have to go through.
So Nehemiah,
you want to keep reading, or you got some more questions?
I just have one more question. So for us, our base is the Muladhara, but the seat of our consciousness is the sex center. If the Christ is the base for the crown, is the crown then the seat of the consciousness for it? In the same way for
it becomes different when you get to that level. The only reason why, if you notice that the Christ is not connected, is truly not connected to the spine.
Because
right.
It's not embodied consciousness.
Yeah. So that's a window open to allow us to that allow the higher ones to come and guide us.
Oh.
Without being polluted.
Oh.
You know, without going too deep into that, because I mean, we're talking about things that most people are not going to understand because they don't have the basics.
Right.
This knowledge. But if you can see the connection, you can understand what I'm saying at this point.
Yeah.
So it's only a body that ascendant masters or cosmic masters take on, because that's the lowest level. It's actually the lowest level that they can take on and still be an avatar. Now they can come, when they come down to the throat center, they're in the fourth aspect.
Right.
And now they're not aware of being an avatar until they master everything at that, everything below that level.
Oh, wow.
You understand?
Yes. Right, thank you. Okay, number 10. Yeah, that's where I stopped. Number 10. This I and I am never moves its position. It is the supreme part of ourselves that is the creative power of the spirit as soul. It is the soul's positive and negative aspect in manifested creation. This twin soul state of existence is the one, a state of independence, and the two, a state of cooperation, which produce a state of self-expression of three.
Dwayne, go back to the page 1.
Okay. The state of self-expression, 3.
So if
So
you read, if you look at that while I read this I and I am never move its position. That's the spirit in white and the soul in black.
Yeah, the
It is
stationary
the
part.
supreme state of ourselves that is creative power. And so that's why you have the arrow going to the right, because that is what moves. The twin soul is in black and white.
And that's the second part, the I. This is the I am, and this is the third sort of self-expression, that third part.
Correct. But then again, the process repeats itself again. Even in that diagram, you have an I and an I am. All the way down to the very bottom. But that's paragraph 10. Paragraph 10 is 2 and 3 with the arrow going to the right.
And 4. Okay. Let's see if you have any questions. Look in the chats. No. Okay. Number 11. Aspect 1 of the soul is the state of power that is the Shiva effect of existence. It's a power that pulls on itself, an independent power generating from within. Aspect 2 of the soul is that aspect that never deviates from the law of karma. So would that make it a diva? It is the supreme power of creation. Both aspects, 1 and 2 of the soul, converge and produce a third aspect, the supreme power of expression, moving forward throughout manifested creation. It carries the embodied consciousness of the soul through involution and evolution back to its creative source as a conscious aspect of soul, no longer embodied, but still remaining a supreme expression. So Nima, isn't that the AUM describing the creation, preservation, and transmutation?
In a sense, all of this is AUM. Remember? Remember what the master that appeared before His Eminence and told him that if you answer all questions, you would say AUM. Because if you truly understood the AUM, it's the initial power, and it's the driving power that would bring you back to the initial power.
I'm going to finish reading the paragraphs and then come back to the illustration in the center. Number 12, the spirit represents pure silence, a pure static state which is an endless potential of power, while the soul represents a pure creative sound vibration in constant motion with that power from spirit. 13, the soul is charged with directives from the spirit to involve itself into subtle etheric matter and various layers of gross matter through a process of involution and evolution in time frames of reincarnation cycles. Um, right, so samsara is a directive from the soul, a directive from the spirit.
Say that question again.
Samsara, the reincarnation cycles, is a directive from the spirit. Well, yeah, because even the planets have a reincarnation cycle, right?
Yeah, but where are you picking that up from?
So, number 13, the soul is charged with directives from the spirit to involve itself in subtle energies versus a gross matter through a process of involution, evolution, and time frames of reincarnation cycles.
Right.
So when we break the wheel of rebirth, we're moving from, I'm confused.
Yeah, but what does it mean to break the wheel of rebirth?
It means we stop the reincarnation cycle that we go through.
Unconsciously.
Oh, okay.
Then you move into a conscious cycle of incarnation. Reincarnation is unconscious. Incarnation is conscious.
Oh, okay.
So you move into incarnations. That stands for conscious movement. If you want to call it reincarnation, then you have to distinguish that it's a conscious reincarnation.
Okay.
Okay, but yeah, reincarnation is the cycles of samsara. But once you break the wheel of rebirth, which wheel of rebirth is an unconscious wheel of rebirth.
Uh-huh.
I mean, some adepts have broken the wheel of rebirth, and they determine when they're gonna be reincarnated in order to make certain moves and conditions on Earth, or the physical plane of Earth, or even the astral etheric planes of Earth.
But the reincarnation cycles you're referring to here in 13 is conscious incarnation cycles.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, everything goes into cycles of reincarnation from
Right.
from that level. But what you're thinking about, you got to remember, if you notice when I talk about the cosmic masters, I talk about incarnations, not reincarnations.
Okay.
Reincarnations means, in most cases, it means unconscious rebirth.
Okay. All right, thank you. Number 14, the soul involves itself through fabricating a vehicle of consciousness out of Shakti power that it can place a part of its intelligence within as limited awareness, evolving itself through experience cycles back to its original source. "15. The soul brings a concentrated stream of Shakti power into the influence of the soul's intelligent control. Then the soul calibrates this Shakti power in order to have it enter the Brahmic line of force, Sushumna, a region within the spinal column, a minute field of space that places tremendous cosmic pressures on any and all things passing through it. 16. This
Dwayne,
area.
Dwayne,
Sorry. Mhm.
from number 15 on is when everything in blue and red. At that point, it becomes personified. And Shakti now becomes Kundalini. Shakti, remember, Kundalini is Shakti personified. And so starting from number 15, that's everything in blue moving forward.
So this
on
is where
page 1.
this is where embodied consciousness begins.
Yeah, you don't see where he says calibrates the Shakti power in order to enter this Brahmic line of force. That's
Yes.
the internal nadis that you asked about.
And what's that tremendous cosmic pressures?
That's the Brahmic force.
That's the line of force. That's Sushumna.
Remember the layers of Sushumna.
Right.
What is the layers of Sushumna? You remember what they described it as?
Diamond.
Diamond, right? That a diamond that has 1,000 volts of what?
Electricity.
Of electricity and light. So it's the same way when we create a engine or a battery, right? Bernard?
Yeah, you are allowing for a flow of electrons from one point to another.
Right.
So Dwayne, what you have to understand is that the line of force here, the Brahma Nadi, it's not a passive force. You know, if you look at if you think of a force as a tube, like say a hose, and water moves through it, it's easy to see it that way. But you have to understand that as water moves through this hose, the hose also has its own power. It is a power. It is a force. It's not passive. Sushumna is not passive. It is an active force used to tame Shakti and personalize it into what is called Kundalini. Force it through the chakra system.
Yeah, and the different chakras add to it. It gives it the makeup, and then it's shaped. That's how the soul shapes and molds the Shakti into individuality, so-called individuality.
So when Kundalini is pushed up Sushumna, does that Brahmic line of force act as a pressure against its rising, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because remember, the Kundalini locks the door. At the same time, it's trying to move upwards, but only a percentage is allowed by karmic law to move. So that's how you get the outer nadis.
Oh, okay.
So the power split. They say the whole becomes a not whole, and you have Ida and Pingala. You have the mental part of the energy and the vital part of the energy, and they crisscross through around the chakras in order to create the matrix we call the nadi system.
You know, Dwayne, it's similar to when they are digging or when they are drilling for oil. The oil itself is highly, highly pressurized. I mean, super, super, super pressurized. So when you tap into that rock and you break it enough for oil to come up, whatever you're bringing that oil in, that itself, that tube, that pipe, that must be also pressurized.
Right.
Pressure has to manage pressure. So the nadi, the sushumna, the brahmina is a living force. It's just not there to just carry kundalini.
Okay. Let's see. I'll do 16 and I'll stop at 17. I don't think I'll be able to get through everything today. 16, this area of minute space, the Sushumna, conditions the Shakti power with the level of consciousness of the universe through the major chakra configuration. Oh, okay. So the varying levels of consciousness of the universe. Okay. Number 17. As the soul moves this stream of Shakti power through Sushumna's Brahmanadi, it conditions the flow of Shakti power into a field of consciousness that serves as a vehicle of consciousness for the soul. So that's the auric body. Right, Nimoy? That's the auric body at this point here?
Everything is in the auric body at this point. All this is possible because of the auric body. Remember, the auric body is created in order to allow this flow of energy.
Right.
Now each expression is an expression of the auric body.
Right. That's this. The body's here. Form. Okay. So do we have any questions? Because we'll stop here at 17 and we'll pick up next time at 18. Before I close out, do you have any questions? All right, if there are no questions or comments, we can close out today's open discussion with a prayer. Oh, no, wrong one. Wrong one. It's this one. Okay. Let me zoom out so I can get that all in. All right, so no questions or comments. Let's close out today's class with a new Lord's Prayer. New Lord's Prayer. divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up and in doing so receive for their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing, granted energy to sing on forever and forever. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance. And as a reminder, tonight at 7 p.m. on the dot, on Eastern Time Zone, is the last hour of Spiritual Push number 1. All right, have a good evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you, everyone.